Let me tell you something about money. It doesn't care if you've been working hard for 20 years or 2. It only moves toward order, and it runs from chaos. Money is like a magnet. It responds to strength, to skill, to discipline. If you're careless, it slips away. If you're prepared, it multiplies. So today, I'll give you 7 rules so powerful that if you follow them with discipline, money will start chasing you. I remember when I was young and broke, I thought if someone just gave me $100,000, my life would be solved. But I learned something humbling. If you can't manage $100, you can't manage 100,000. The zeros change, but your habits remain the same. Money doesn't transform your discipline, it exposes it. If you have poor habits with a little, you'll have poor habits with a lot. If you have good habits with a little more money, simply multiplies your results. Discipline is not glamorous. Nobody throws a parade because you decided to drive the older car for 1 more year. Nobody cheers when you choose to invest instead of upgrade your phone. But wealth isn't built on applause. It's built on quiet, consistent decisions that stack over time. Every time you save instead of spend, you're casting a vote for your future self. Every time you invest instead of upgrade, you're building a foundation that will hold when the storms come. And let me tell you, the storms will come. Economies shift, markets dip, industries collapse. But the disciplined person is prepared because their financial success isn't built on chance. It's built on principles. They've planted seeds every season, so when winter arrives, they have a storehouse. So don't spend your life waiting for luck to strike. Don't build your financial dreams on the hope of a perfect moment. The perfect moment is now, because the opportunity to be disciplined is always in your hands. Remember this, wealth doesn't respond to wishes, it responds to discipline. And the day you take full responsibility for every dollar you touch is the day money begins to trust you enough to stay. When I first started out, I had one source of income. And you know what that meant? It meant that if something happened to that one source, I was done. I was standing on a single leg, and if that leg gave out, I'd hit the floor. Most people live like that, depending entirely on a paycheck from one job or one business, thinking it's enough. But life has a way of testing that belief. Industries change, companies restructure, technology replaces roles. One day you can be on top, and the next day, the ladder is gone. That's why one income stream is dangerous. The wealthy understand something most people overlook. The more legs you stand on, the harder it is to knock you down. 3, 4, 5 streams of income mean stability. If one slows down, the others keep you going. It's the financial version of having a spare tire. And no, you don't have to build them all at once. You start with one, get it strong, then add another and another. When I was building my fortune, I had my main business, but I also invested in real estate. While my business produced cash flow, the real estate built equity and gave me rental income. Then I added investments in the stock market, and over time, those investments began producing dividend. Different streams, different rhythms, but together, they created a financial current that was always moving toward me. Think about a farmer. He doesn't plant only one crop in one field. He plants different crops in different seasons because he knows the weather may be unkind to one but favorable to another. The same goes for your income. Maybe your job is one crop, your side business another, your investment's a third. Each one has its season, and together they provide security. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people lose a job and within a few months, their savings are gone, their confidence is gone, and they're scrambling just to keep the lights on. But I've also seen those with multiple streams simply adjust. One slows down. They lean on the others until it recovers. That's the power of diversification in your personal economy. Here's the beauty. In today's world, creating extra streams is easier than ever. Technology has opened doors. Online businesses, digital products, consulting, rentals, investments, opportunities are everywhere. But you have to think like a builder, not a consumer. Instead of asking, what can I buy next? Ask, what can I build next? So make it your mission to never rely on one single source for your survival. Spread out your efforts, spread out your risk, and spread out your income. Because when you have money coming from multiple directions, you build lasting financial freedom. I learned a long time ago that if your money stops working when you stop working, you're in trouble. The clock will not slow down for you, and one day, no matter how much energy you have now, you'll want the option to slow down. The tragedy is that most people never prepare for that day. They work for money, but they never put money to work for them. They trade hours for dollars, and when the hours stop, so does the income. You have to flip that equation. You have to own things that keep paying you even while you sleep. That's what assets are for. Things like stocks that pay dividends, businesses that generate cash flow without you being there every minute, real estate that sends you rent checks month after month. Assets don't complain. They don't get tired. They don't call in sick. They just keep producing. When I started to understand this, it changed everything. I realized my job was not just to earn, it was to convert my earnings into workers. Every dollar I invested was like hiring another employee, one who would work 24 hours a day, never take a vacation, and never ask for a raise. And the more of those employees I had, the more financial freedom I could create. I remember buying my first piece of rental property. It wasn't glamorous, just a small house in a modest neighborhood, but I'll never forget the feeling of receiving that first rent check. That money came in while I was doing other things. I could have been traveling, speaking, reading, it didn't matter. That little house worked for me, and it kept working for years. That's when I knew I needed more of those little workers in my corner. Contrast that with liabilities. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. The shiny car that loses value every month. The big house you can barely afford. The gadgets you buy on impulse. These things might feel good in the moment, but they don't produce anything. They consume. And if your life is full of consumers instead of producers, you'll always be running just to stay in place. This is why I tell people to focus on acquiring assets early. You can enjoy the luxuries later, but first, you have to build a machine that will pay for them without touching your freedom. Too many people do it backwards. They buy the luxuries first, then spend decades working to pay for them. If you want to build wealth, you must plant financial seeds that grow while you're doing something else. Turn your money into a silent army, working day and night. Because the real test of financial independence isn't how much you make when you're working. It's how much you make when you're not. When I was broke, I thought the reason I had no money was simple. I didn't make enough, but then I learned something uncomfortable. It wasn't just about how much I made, it was about how I handled what I made. I was letting money slip through my fingers because I wasn't paying attention. And let me tell you, money has a funny way of disappearing when you're not looking. The first step to controlling your finances is awareness. You can't improve something you won't measure. Most people have no idea where their money actually goes. They know the big bills, rent, car payment, groceries, but they have no idea how much is leaking away in small, seemingly harmless expenses. A coffee here, a subscription there, a dinner out, an impulse buy online, it all adds up. And at the end of the month, they're left wondering, where did it all go? When I finally decided to track every dollar, it was like turning on a light in a dark room. I started carrying a little notebook and writing down every expense, no matter how small. And I didn't just track for a day or two, I tracked for months. The truth was humbling. I discovered patterns that explained exactly why I was always short on cash. The problem wasn't the universe, the problem was my habits. It's like running a business. A good business knows its numbers. It knows what's coming in, what's going out, and where every cent is being spent. If you ran your personal finances the way most people run their bank accounts, you'd be bankrupt in business within 6 months. And yet, that's how most people live, guessing, hoping, and wondering why things don't improve. Awareness is powerful because it forces you to make choices instead of drifting. When you see that you're spending $200 a month on things that don't matter, it's no longer invisible. And once you see it, you can redirect that money towards savings, investments, or debt reduction. Those little adjustments, made consistently, create enormous change over time. I remember showing a young man how to track his expenses. At first, he resisted. He thought it was too much work. But after 2 months, he came back shocked. I found $300 a month I didn't know I had, he said. That's $3,600 a year. Enough to start investing, to pay down debt faster, or to build an emergency fund. That's the magic of awareness. If you want control, you must first get clarity. Don't let your money be a mystery. Know it, track it, and direct it with purpose. Because the moment you become fully aware of where every dollar goes is the moment you gain the power to tell it where to go next. And that's the beginning of true financial mastery. When I first heard the idea of paying myself first, I didn't fully understand it. I thought, of course I'll save if there's anything left at the end of the month. But the truth is, there's never anything left at the end of the month. Life has a way of filling every financial gap you give it. If you wait until after you've paid everyone else, the landlord, the grocery store, the utility company, the restaurants, the credit card companies, there will be nothing left for you. And yet, you're the one who did the work. The principle is simple but powerful. Take a portion of every dollar you earn and keep it for yourself before you spend a single cent on anything else. 10% is the rule I started with. If you earn $1,000, you keep $100. If you earn $10,000, you keep $1,000. That money is yours to keep, to invest, to grow. You don't touch it for bills. You don't touch it for emergencies unless it's truly life or death. It's the seed of your future. When I first started this, it wasn't easy. My income was small, and taking 10% felt like cutting off oxygen. But I decided it was non-negotiable. I treated it like a bill I owed myself, the most important bill of all. Month after month, I paid myself first. And something incredible happened. I learned to live on what was left. My spending adjusted to the new reality, and I discovered that I had been wasting more than I thought. It's the discipline, not the amount, that changes your life. Even if all you can start with is 5%, start there. The habit of paying yourself first is the foundation of wealth. That money becomes your tool for creating assets, for investing in things that work while you sleep, for buying your way into freedom. I remember a young man telling me he couldn't save 10% because he barely made enough to get by. I asked him, if your employer cut your pay by 10%, would you still survive? He thought for a moment and said, I'd have to. Exactly. You would adjust. That's the beauty of human adaptability. If you decide the first 10% is off limits for spending, you'll adjust your life around the other 90%. And here's the psychological benefit. When you pay yourself first, you start seeing yourself as worthy of keeping something from your own labor. It changes your relationship with money. You stop feeling like a victim of your expenses and start feeling like the owner of your future. So make the rule permanent. From this day on, at least 10% of everything you earn is yours to keep. Because if you can't keep part of what you earn now, you'll never be able to keep more when you earn more. Wealth begins with the decision to pay yourself before you pay anyone else. When you first start making progress financially, There's a dangerous temptation waiting for you. You work hard, you start earning more, and before you've even taken a breath, you're already looking for ways to spend it. A bigger house, a nicer car, dinners at the best restaurants. It's like your lifestyle is racing ahead of your bank account, always pushing the finish line further away. And the tragedy is, this is where most people sabotage their own wealth. The moment you make a little extra, your mind starts whispering, you've earned it, you deserve it, and you do deserve rewards. But timing is everything. If you take your profits and feed your lifestyle before you feed your investments, you'll never escape the treadmill. You'll just keep running faster to pay for a life that owns you. I learned early on that the wise move is to let your money grow before you let your lifestyle grow. That means when profits come in, whether from a business, investments, or even a raise at your job, the first question isn't what can I buy, but how can I reinvest this so it produces more? Because if you plant the seeds now, you can enjoy a harvest for the rest of your life. But if you eat the seeds, there's no harvest coming. I remember running a small venture years ago where I had a particularly good month. My first instinct was to take a vacation I'd been dreaming about. But instead, I took nearly all of it and bought more inventory, improved the product, and increased my marketing reach. That decision multiplied the income the next month and the month after that. Eventually, the business was strong enough to give me vacations every year without touching the foundation. That's the difference reinvesting makes. It turns short-term gains into long-term freedom. People sometimes say, but I want to enjoy life now. And I agree. You should enjoy life now. But here's the secret. Enjoyment is much greater when it's backed by security. A vacation is sweeter when you know you're not coming home to bills you can't pay. A nice car feels better when it's paid for with passive income instead of your precious working hours. The discipline is to delay lifestyle inflation just long enough for your assets to catch up and pay for it. If you double your income but also double your expenses, you've gained nothing but the illusion of progress. But if you keep expenses steady and put the extra to work, you've created a gap. And that gap is the engine of wealth. So remember, profits are not a signal to increase spending. They're a signal to increase your future. Let your money mature, multiply, and then, when it's producing more than you need, you can grow your lifestyle without fear. The goal is simple. Build a life where your lifestyle is paid for by your assets, not your labor. That's when you're truly free. When I was starting out, I thought the key to making more money was simply working harder. I believed that if I put in more hours, I'd get ahead. But one day, someone told me, if you want things to get better, you have to get better. That shifted my thinking completely. Because the truth is, your income rarely exceeds your personal growth. You can't out-earn your own knowledge, your own skills, or your own ability to make wise decisions. That's why one of the best investments you'll ever make is in your own mind. A personal development library, books, courses, seminars, isn't just about collecting information. It's about upgrading the very operating system you run your life on. Every new idea, every principle you learn, every skill you master, these are tools you'll carry with you for the rest of your life. Tools no one can take away. When I first started, my library was small. A couple of books someone recommended, a few cassette tapes of lectures I could barely afford. But I treated those materials like gold. I didn't just read them once. I read and reread. I listened over and over. I took notes. I applied what I learned immediately. I wasn't trying to be entertained. I was trying to be transformed. I remember spending nearly a week's worth of pay to attend a seminar. People thought I was crazy. You could have bought a new suit, they said. And they were right. I could have. But that suit would have worn out in a couple of years. The ideas I took from that seminar are still producing results decades later. That's the difference between an expense and an investment. An expense takes from you. An investment pays you back, often for the rest of your life. Think about it. Every book you read adds to your decision-making ability. Every course you take sharpens your skills. Every seminar you attend puts you in a room with people who are thinking at a higher level, and that environment alone can raise your standards. And over time, this growth compounds just like money does. One book might lead to an idea that increases your income. One conversation might spark a new opportunity. One new skill might open an entirely different career path. Some people say they can't afford to buy books or attend events. But here's the reality. You can't afford not to. If you stay the same, your results stay the same. And the cost of staying the same is far higher than the price of a book. So build your library like you're building your fortune, because you are. Fill it with the wisdom of people who've walked the path you want to travel. Study it, apply it, live it. Your mind is the engine of your wealth, and the more you feed it, the further it will take you. Treat your growth as your greatest asset, because it is. When I think back to the times my life made its biggest leaps forward, it was never just because I worked harder. It was because I was around people who thought differently. People whose very presence made me raise my game. You see, money is not just a numbers game, it's a thinking game. And the fastest way to upgrade your thinking is to spend time with those who are already playing at a higher level. If you're the smartest one in the room financially, you're in the wrong room. Because in that room, you're not being stretched, you're being comfortable. And comfort is the enemy of growth. You want to be around people whose decisions make you think, whose results make you curious, and whose questions challenge your own assumptions about money. That proximity to wisdom doesn't just give you answers, it changes the kinds of questions you even know to ask. When I was struggling financially, my circle reflected that struggle. We talked about how hard things were, how unfair life seemed, and how we could just get by until the next paycheck. Then I made a deliberate decision to spend more time with people who were ahead of me. At first I felt out of place. They used terms I didn't understand. They discussed opportunities I didn't know existed. They spoke in strategies rather than complaints. But slowly, it started to rub off. Their habits became my habits. Their way of thinking about risk and reward started shaping mine. I remember one lunch with a man whose net worth was more than I could imagine at the time. He didn't give me a long lecture. He simply asked, "How much of your money is working for you right now?" I didn't have a good answer, because the truth was, none of it was. That single question pushed me to start putting my money into things that could grow instead of letting it sit idle. That's the power of proximity. One well-placed question can redirect your entire financial path. And here's something else. Wealth-minded people tend to see possibilities where others see problems. Spend enough time with them and you'll start spotting opportunities instead of obstacles. You'll start thinking in terms of solutions, leverage, and return on investment. That's not just inspiring, it's contagious. Now, surrounding yourself with smarter people isn't about using them or being a leech. It's about contributing as much as you can, even if in the beginning it's more energy, attention, and willingness to learn than financial wisdom. People respect those who respect the process of growth. So make it a goal to upgrade your environment. Find mentors, join groups, attend events, volunteer where high-level conversations happen. Because the truth is, you rise to the level of the company you keep. And if you want to rise financially, make sure you're spending time with people whose very presence pulls you upward. That's how proximity turns into prosperity. When I was younger, I thought the main thing I needed to manage was money. I'd budget it, save it, and try to make it grow. But the older I got, the more I realized something far more valuable was slipping away without much thought. My time. Money you can lose and get back. Time, once spent, is gone forever. And if you're not careful, you can waste years chasing things that have no real return. Most people guard their wallets tighter than they guard their hours. They'll argue over a $50 bill, but give away weeks of their life to distractions, meaningless commitments, or habits that drain instead of build. That's backward. Because time is the seed from which everything else grows. The question isn't just, what am I doing with my money, but what am I doing with my hours? Every hour you spend is an investment, either in your future or in your regret. You have to start measuring time the same way you measure capital, by its return. If you spend an hour watching something mindless, the return is gone the moment it ends. But spend that same hour reading a book that teaches you a new skill, building a system that saves you work in the future, or developing a relationship that opens doors. That hour keeps paying you back for years. I remember a period when I was saying yes to every invitation, every meeting, every request for my time. I thought being busy was the same as being productive. Then one day I sat down and asked myself, if my time was my money, would I be broke right now? The answer hit me hard. Yes, I was broke in time. That's when I started to treat my hours like I treat investments, with care, intention, and an eye for return. And here's the beauty. Just like money compounds when invested wisely, so does time. If you spend time today learning a valuable skill, you don't just gain that skill for today, you carry it forward, using it over and over to create value. If you spend time building an asset, whether it's a business, a portfolio, or even a healthy body, you enjoy the dividends for years. The earlier you start, the greater the compounding effect. So, stop trading your hours for things that die the moment they're done. Trade them for things that keep living, investments, skills, systems, relationships, and knowledge. Protect your time like the rare currency it is. Spend it where the return is high, and reinvest the gains into more growth. One day, your bank account will reflect how you've spent your time just as clearly as it reflects how you've spent your money. And when that day comes, you'll either wish you had used your hours better, or you'll be grateful that you treated your time as your most important capital from the very beginning. When I first began setting goals, I thought the key was to make a plan once, set it in stone, and stick to it no matter what. That sounded disciplined. But life has a way of teaching you that the world doesn't stand still. Markets shift, opportunities appear and disappear, and sometimes even your own priorities change. If you're not adjusting, you're drifting, and drifting rarely takes you somewhere you want to be. That's why I learned to review and adjust my plan every 90 days. 3 months is short enough to keep you accountable, but long enough to see measurable progress. It's like sailing a ship. You can't change the wind, but you can adjust your sails. Every 90 days, I take a hard look at the map and the compass, where I said I'd be, where I actually am, and what's changed along the way. When I was building my first real stream of income, I remember thinking I could just set it and forget it. But 3 months in, the market shifted, and my original approach stopped working as well. If I hadn't paused to reassess, I might have kept working harder at the wrong thing. Instead, I spotted the change early, adjusted my approach, and avoided wasting months chasing a dead strategy. That single pivot doubled my results in the next quarter. Here's the truth. You can't change your final destination overnight, but you can change your direction today. That's the real power of these 90-day check-ins. They keep you from being trapped by an old plan in a new reality. They force you to ask, is what I'm doing still the best use of my time and resources? Is there something I should stop doing? Is there something I should start? Sometimes the answers surprise you. And it's not just about numbers, it's about mindset. These reviews give you a chance to celebrate wins you might have overlooked, and they shine a light on habits that might be quietly sabotaging your progress. It's amazing how small course corrections, made consistently, can take you to a completely different place over time. I've met people who resisted changing their plan because they thought it meant they were failing. But adjusting your plan isn't a sign of failure, it's a sign of intelligence. The pilot doesn't fly straight to the destination without adjusting for wind. The investor doesn't hold the same exact portfolio forever without reacting to the market. The entrepreneur doesn't cling to a product no one's buying. In all these cases, the smartest move is to adapt. So take your goals, break them into 90-day segments, and commit to reviewing them honestly. Don't wait until the year is over to realize you've been heading in the wrong direction. The earlier you pivot, the sooner you get back on track. You may not be able to arrive tomorrow, but you can make the turn today. And that's what keeps you moving toward the life you want. I want to leave you with something simple, but powerful. Wealth is not something that happens to you, it's something you build. It's not a lottery ticket you're waiting to scratch. It's a garden you choose to plant, water, and protect. And here's the part most people miss. You don't need to wait for permission, the perfect timing, or the right opportunity. The moment you decide, truly decide, that you will take control of your money, your time, and your habits, that's the moment everything changes. Too many people stand on the shoreline, watching others sail toward their dreams, telling themselves, one day. But one day is just a disguise for never, unless you make it today. Because the truth is, you can't change your past, but you can rewrite your future by the choices you make starting now. And wealth building isn't about doing one big thing once. It's about doing the right small things consistently. Saving before you spend, learning before you leap, adjusting when the winds change, protecting your time like it's gold, surrounding yourself with people who make you think bigger. I've seen people go from broke to financially free, not because they got lucky, but because they got serious. They stopped treating their paycheck like an end and started treating it like a beginning. They stopped blaming the economy and started building their own economy. They didn't wait for conditions to be perfect. They started with what they had, where they were, and they built brick by brick.